Welcome back, Hive Mind. This is Shalazar with Hive Mind Gaming, coming at you with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So today we're going to take a look at the new update put out by, I think it was Aurelia this morning, letting us know that there's a new patch coming, and it's going to come Thursday. So Thursday or Friday, it's going to be out, and let's go over the patch notes. So, update highlights for 3.20. We've got some new champs coming out. Surprise, surprise. There will be a fusion. It's going to be a Fragment Fusion. So, to be honest, everyone's been up in arms over the Fragment Fusions. And then they realized, oh crap, they're never going to do an old style fusion with old style champions. So now the Fragment Fusion's looking a lot better because you don't have to worry about all the extra stuff like potion grinding and leveling champs and everything else to get that fusion champ. So the Fragment Fusions are actually looking a lot better as resource management to be able to get that fusion. So anyway, so let's go over the new champions. And then we've got also daily login rewards and some quality of life improvements. So I haven't read these champions yet. So this is my first time reading them and getting my reaction to them. I wanted to go over them with you at the same time. So, all right. So I do know which one is the fragment champion, which I'll point that out when we get to it. All right. So this is the first one. It's King Garog. He's a legendary force champion, attack type for the Orc faction. Alright, so his A1, Gigantic Cleavers, attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 35% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. The chance is increased by 50% of the target's turn meter if the target's turn meter is equal to or below 50%. Interesting. Oh, cool. And they're actually telling us what their books are going to look like too. Wow, that's a lot of books. Who knew orcs like to read? All right. Let's see. His A2 hack to bits. Attacks one enemy 4 times. Wow. Each critical hit has a 50% chance of decreasing the cooldown of Gore Maker by 1 turn. Okay, Gore Maker's is A3. And that's on a 4-turn cooldown that can book down to a 3-turn cooldown. And it's all damage other than that. Alright. His A3 is attacks all enemies, will ignore 20% of each target's defense, will ignore a further 5% of defense for each buff on the target. Wow, that's really good. And it books down to 3 turns. Oh, dang, you're gonna want to put books into him too, and he reads so much. Not cool, Polarium. Oh, and it's probably gonna do some good damage too. He's an attack-based champion. Let's see. So his passive, War Machine, increases this champion's speed by 6 and crit damage by 7% for each enemy this champion kills in a round. Stacks up to plus 30 speed and plus 35 crit damage. Stacks will reset if this champion is killed. Whenever an enemy champion is revived, fills this champion's turn meter by 30%. For each revived enemy. This places a 50% increase attack buff and a 30% increase crit damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. Ooh. Wow, that passive does a lot. That's pretty solid. Alright, next we have Roxam, legendary magic affinity, attack-based champion for the Lizardman faction. Let's see. His A1, Chroma Shift, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 10%. Also has a 50% chance of placing a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn if this attack is critical. And it does book up to a 60% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 10%. So also books up to 60% chance of filling the champion's turn meter and placing the perfect veil. So interesting. All right. And then is A2, Jungle Ambush. Attacks one enemy, fills this champion's turn meter by 50%, which will book up to 75%. And it has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff, which will book up to 100% chance for 1 turn when attacking while under a veil or perfect veil buff. Interesting. Has a 75%, which books up to 100% chance of placing a sleep debuff on the target for 1 turn when attacking without veil or perfect veil debuff. Oh, cool. Okay, so either way, he's CCing his opponent. It's just whether or not he's placing sleep or stun. Places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns after attacking without veil or perfect veil. And it's on a 4-turn cooldown that books down to a 3-turn cooldown. All right, his A3 Flicker Step. While under a veil or perfect veil buff, he attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, which books up to 100% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 25% weaken debuff. Decreases the cooldown of Jungle Ambush by 2 turns. So Jungle Ambush is this one. So it would reduce the cooldown of that by 2 turns. Interesting. Okay, so first off, those 2 buffs are great, obviously. And then on top of that, it reduces that by 2 turns. And if it's on a 3-turn cooldown, ooh, that's pretty solid, because that would come off cooldown immediately. All right. While not under veil or perfect veil, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 25% weaken debuff, which also, again, books up to 100%. On the target for 2 turns. Before attacking, places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns after attacking. Huh. So this one doesn't say how many turns. I assume that it's going to be 2 turns as well, as just like this one is. But all right. So if you're not under veil, then you do this ability and then get put under veil. If you are already under veil, then you do the ability and reduce the cooldown of that. I like it. I think that's a cool ability. I like it a lot, actually. It's on a 5-turn cooldown that books down to 4 turns. And then he's got a passive, places a block debuffs and a 25% strengthen buff on this champion for 1 turn and a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns whenever they receive a veil or perfect veil buff. Wow. So anytime he gets a veil or perfect veil buff, he's going to get block debuffs, strengthen, and a continuous heal. Holy crap. I do not want to deal with that guy in an arena. Wow. That's a solid passive. Increases ally crit rate in Doom Tower battles by 25%. Holy crap. Alright, Brago. Okay, I believe this is the fusion champ. Alright, he's a legendary spirit defense champ from the orcs. Molten Pummeling is his A1. Attacks one enemy, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. Books up to a 30% chance. Fearless Charge places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 3 turns, then attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Has a 75% chance, which these book up to 100% chance, of placing a stun debuff for 2 turns instead if the target is under 2 or more buffs. So I think there's only one other champ in the game that does a 2-turn stun, and it's in a similar situation, which is Cillian the Lucky, which is he stuns for 1 turn but has a chance to stun for 2 turns. Yeah, that's pretty solid. It looks like a 4-turn cooldown that would book down to a 3-turn. Yeah, that's pretty solid ability. Is A3 is Battle Storm, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Also places a 50% decreased attack debuff on all enemies for 2 turns if Iron Brago is under an increased defense buff. And that also books up to a 75% chance of doing this. 75% chance to provoke for a legendary is kind of lame. That should be 75%. That books up to 100%. That's pretty lame. And then he's that looks like a 6-turn cooldown. That would book down to a 5-turn. Jesus, that's a big cooldown. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's read the rest of him, I guess. Increases the defense of all allies by 10% of this champion. Okay, that's pretty solid. I mean, wow, that's pretty good, actually. And then his aura increases ally defense in Doom Tower battles by 34%. Yeah, he's that passive made him viable. I didn't think he was going to be that viable or could care less about him until that passive. Now, if he was 100% provoked, then I would have been all about it. But that A3 is just on a 6-turn / 5-turn cooldown. Or is it a 5? I can't tell. I don't know. It looks like a 6 to me, guys. Leave in the comments what you guys think that is. It's kind of muddied there. But, I mean, that's rough, man. A 6-turn cooldown, books down to a 5. But dang, he requires a lot of books. What is up with these orcs, man? The orcs are getting smarter, guys. The hell? Alright, let's move on. Alright, Melga Steel Girdle. Okay, she looks kind of cool. Oh, she's a dwarf. I was thinking she's going to be a barbarian. Nice. Alright, an epic spirit champion. HP dwarf. Nice. I think the only other HP dwarf is Mountain King, I believe. Alright, so let's see. Oh, Jesus, man. What is up with all the... Is that where we're going? Is just the whole world of Valeria is getting smarter? Is that what this is? Alright. Either way. Her A1, Inspiring Violence. I love it. Attacks one enemy. has a 50% chance of removing one random debuff from a random ally. Oh, that's cool. And that's 50% chance, and that's going to book up to 75% chance. That's a lot of books on A1. Her A2, Sheer Grit, places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Also places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. On a 4-turn cooldown that books down to a 3-turn cooldown. So we've got a replacement for Miscreated Monster. If you haven't pulled a Miscreated Monster for Spider, this would be a replacement if you pull her instead. That's pretty cool. Okay, I like it. Let's see what her A3 is before I say... Well, actually, yeah, let's see what her A3 is first. Revive 2 random allies with 20% HP and 20% turn meter. Okay, she's a reviver too. Yeah, she's definitely could be a she could definitely be a replacement for MM. Yeah. Ascended, it revives 2 random allies with 20% HP and 20% turn meter. Also places a shield buff on the revived ally for 2 turns equal to 30% of their max HP. It's on a 7-turn, books down to a 5-turn. Yeah, so she would be a solid replacement for MM. I mean, MM comes with... Miscreated Monster comes with so much more utility, but her having Revive is a pretty darn good utility as well, though. And Revive is also something the dwarves need if you don't have a Molly for Faction Wars. Yeah, I like her. I mean, she's really good, actually. She brings shields and continuous heals, which is something the dwarves need for Faction Wars. She would be solid in any of the dungeons as a support champ. And the fact that she's HP, she's an HP champ instead of a support champ, is pretty darn cool. But she's obviously a solid support champ. I like her, guys. I mean, and her auras increases HP in all battles by 15%. So you can use that in Faction Wars, which obviously the final boss in Faction Wars, you need HP, not defense. I think she's solid. Chancellor Yasmin. She's an epic force champion support for the Banner Lords. Because, there's not enough Banner Lords. Let's see. Her A1, Resounding Smash. Let's just go ahead and read her Ascended. Attacks one enemy. Places an extra hit if the target has no active buffs. Okay. Her A2 heals an ally by 40% of their max HP. Heals by 60% instead if the ally has 50% HP or less. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, books down to a 2. Wow, okay. And then A3 Lulling Chant has a 50% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, then places a sleep buff for 1 turn all enemies who have active buffs. Now that books up to a 75% chance of removing all buffs, and it's on a 5-turn cooldown, books down to a 4-turn. So a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. So 75% all or nothing, I think. So you have a 75% to remove all the buffs or none of the buffs. Unfortunately, I think it'd probably been better if it was 75% chance to remove buff to each individual buff. So each individual buff has a 75% chance to get removed. I mean, that might. I mean, with masteries, it would book up to 80%. That's not horrible. Yeah, I don't know. With someone like Madame running around, it just seems kind of lackluster that an epic is at a 75% chance to. Well, she's not a void though. Also, yeah, okay. Yeah, a two-turn cooldown heal with a 75% to strip buffs, and she's not a void. I can be down with that. I can be down with that. All right. Oh, this looks like a reskin, because I'm pretty sure that's what the one guy looks like in the undead. This is just going to be a reskin. Epic Spirit HP champ for the undead hordes. Horrendous Strength. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of one random debuff on the target by 1 turn. Wow. And books up to a 40% chance. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of one random debuff. Wow. Okay. Well, I like that. The fact that it's only one random debuff kind of sucks, but it could happen up to 3 times. Wave of Revulsion attacks all enemies. Has a 60% chance of placing a provoked debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Books up to a 75% chance. Also has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns on targets who receive the provoke debuff from this skill. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, books down to a 3-turn. So this will not work on bosses at all. Alright, so his next one is a passive. Whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. Only heals by 25% of the damage received from boss attacks. This champion only receives half of the heal that all other allies receive. That's actually pretty darn good, actually. That's really good. Alright, then he's got a second passive. When attacked, places a leech debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. If the attacker is under a provoke debuff placed by this champion, it also has a 70% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the attacker by 2 turns. Occurs once per attack. Wow. So, other than the leech part, this is not going to work on the clan boss or any other boss, for that matter. This is going to book to 100% chance. So, with those 3 books, that's really good, though. So, 75% chance on this epic to provoke all enemies, where that legendary above also has a 75% chance to provoke all enemies. Oh, kind of lame, on the legendaries part. Alright, let's move on. Alright, this dude looks cool. I've always wanted dreadlocks. Kind of jealous. Having hair envy right now. Alright, so he's a epic magic using attack-based barbarian. Attacks one enemy, his discipline staff. Attacks one enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. And that's going to book up to a 45% chance. Well, that's pretty good on an A1. Trampling Rampage. Alright, so it attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance. That books up to a 100% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, steals 7.5% of the turn meter from targets under decreased defense debuffs. Wow. On a 4-turn cooldown, books down to a 3-turn. So he's hitting all enemies, placing a 60% decreased defense, and then, if they have a decreased defense, stealing 7.5% of their turn meter. Holy crap. So far, I can only imagine what he's going to do in Spider. I mean, he might read a book to them, of course, because, he loves to read. Not angry about that at all. There's no bitter table for 1, bitter table for 1. My God. All right, his A3 is Ear Splitter Bellow. Decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 20%. Has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff. That books up to a 100% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have their turn meter fully depleted. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot, actually. Wow, he's gonna be solid. He's gonna be solid pretty much anywhere except for, like, Clan Boss. His passive is fills this champion's turn meter by 10% each time an enemy receives a stun debuff. Wow. I like him a lot, man. Dang, he's gonna be good. All right, let's see. Ursula the Mourner. Wow, that name does not make it seem like she should be a Banner Lord. All right, so she's an Epic Void champion, support for the Banner Lords. Yeah, that's not what I would have definitely expected a undead or Knight's Revenant, actually, for being a mourner. Well, I guess she's a mourner, not a moaner. So she's not doing the whole ghoulish moan. She's mourning someone's death, I guess. All right, anyway, Lance of Penance. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. And this is a 40% chance that books up to a 55% chance. Her A2 Waves of Grief attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance that books up to a 100% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's on a 4-turn cooldown that books down to a 3-turn cooldown. I like that. I can dig that a lot, actually. Attacks all enemies, places decreased attack on them, increased attack on us. Yep, I can get down with that. All right, her A3 Requiem revives all dead allies with 75% HP. That's big. That's pretty big. This fills their turn meters by 50%. That's huge, actually. 75% HP and 50% turn meter. Also places a 60% increased defense debuff and a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 3 turns. It's on a 6-turn cooldown, books down to a 5. That is probably the best revive in the game. 1, it revives all dead allies, not just one. 75 HP. Fills all turn meter by 50%. Then places a 60% increased defense and strengthen on all allies. So it's going to do that whether you've been revived or not. So if it revives 2 allies, all allies are still getting the increased defense and strengthen. there's probably one other res and revive in the game that could be argued to be better, and that's Raglan's, because it's on a 2-turn cooldown. The 2-turn cooldown is what probably makes it better, and they're revived with 100% turn meter. So it could definitely be argued that it's the better version, the best revive, but it's only one target, where this is all allies. So if she's the last one standing, she revives everybody. And it's a shame that they're both Banner Lords too. Because if she was someone like, let's say Sacred Order, but Sacred Order actually has a good reviver too, which is Cardinal. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a good dang ability. Like her A2 and her A3 are both really good abilities. She's really good, guys. She's really good. Other than the fact that the bitch likes to read. Oh my god. Alright, so her aura is increase ally speed in Doom Tower battles by 25%. Yeah, she's gonna be great in Doom Tower. She's gonna be great Faction Wars. She's gonna be good in Arena. She's gonna be good in Dungeons. I mean, she's just gonna be good. It really is gonna be great. Alright, next. Ooh, he looks cool. Oh, that looks awesome. I love that. Of course, I mean, the thing we all love about Plarium is their art. Alright. Anax. I don't know. Anyway, epic spirit attack for the undead hordes. Piercing shattles? Anyway, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Ooh. That books up to a 35% chance. His A2, Deathly Ichers, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff and a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns. Okay, so it's a 2-turn 75 that books up to 100% chance of placing the decreased accuracy and poison. So on 4-turn cooldown, books down to a 3-turn. Not sure that I care, to be perfectly honest. His A3 attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance that books up to 100% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Okay, so that's not bad. This heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. Okay, that's pretty cool. It's on a 4-turn, books down to a 3-turn. It's a selfish ability, so it only affects him, but the weaken is really good. All right, it's passive. Has a passive effect and an active effect. The passive effect places a 60% increased buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drops below 75%. Okay, that's pretty good. Places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drops below 50%. Okay, I like that. And then the active effect grants an extra turn when this champion's HP drops below 10%. Nice. It's on a 5-turn cooldown. All right. And then we've got Fragment the Fat. Is an epic spirit attack champion for the barbarians. Finally, they put in someone that looks like me, fat and bald. Great, I love it. I don't have the face tattoos. I'm gonna have to work on that, I guess. All right, Sizzling Strike. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. That books up to a 50% chance. Okay. His A2, Brand of Shame. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing an HP burn. That 75% books up to 100% chance. And 2 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns. Wow, that's pretty solid. It's a 4-turn cooldown, books down to a 3-turn. Yeah, that's gonna be great for clan boss or the Doom Tower boss, or yeah, the spider boss in Doom Tower. That's gonna be good. Let's see. His A3 places a 30% increased crit rate buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies except this champion for 3 turns. Then all allies except this champion will attack one target enemy. Oh, that's so good. It's a new way of doing the buddy attack. Beatdown is the name. Wow. It's on a 6-turn cooldown, books down to a 4. That's cool. I love it. It is an epic buddy attack, ally attack ability. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. So yeah, he's going to be good in pretty much anywhere, probably. Let's see what his passive does. His passive, body block, deflects 20% of all incoming damage this champion receives onto all allies. The damage will be spread equally across all allies. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see him in action. Because one, this is a solid clan boss ability. Because believe it or not, HP ticks for higher than a poison tick, even with poison sensitivity. So having one of your poisons replaced by HP burn is not a bad thing. And then the fact that he does an ally attack ability, he might be kind of fun to play around with in Clan Boss, I think. He's gonna, yeah. There are some good epics coming out this time. Let's see. Next we've got Duck the Pierced. Duck. The Pierced. We'll just call him the Pierced. He's an epic magic champion of the defense variety for the orcs. He's a mad chopper. My 40k references wanted that to be a at the end of Choppa. Mad Choppa. Alright, so let's see. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns. And that's going to book up to a 40% chance. His A2 Lunatic Outburst attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, that books up to a 100% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance, which books up to a 100% chance, of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns on each critical hit. That's on a 4-turn cooldown that books down to a 3-turn cooldown. So it's a attacks all enemy ability, so AoE ability, and Lunatic Outburst. Gotta love it. So it's 100%, when booked, it's got 100% decreased attack and decreased defense. I like it. I mean, you've obviously he's got to be at 100% crit rate, but still, I like it. I like it a lot. Those are two really good debuffs for sure. All right, his A3 is Shrieking Display. Places a provoked debuff for 1 turn on the target enemy. Also has a 75% chance of placing a provoked debuff for 1 turn on 2 random enemies. Places a 30% reflect damage buff on this champion for 2 turns, and an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn. Okay, that's pretty solid. It's a 6 turn cooldown, books down to a 4. Increases his aura increases ally defense and faction grips by 31%. So, I mean, he's got some cool abilities. I'm not sure where he would fit in the game. Decreased accuracy is definitely going to help in some of the other Doom Tower, with some of the Doom Tower bosses. I don't know. He's going to be one that going to need to be played with, I think. The fact that he's a defense-based champ means that he's going to have pretty good survivability, especially with the A3. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to help out with... He could definitely help out with the dragon in Doom Tower. That's for sure. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes from there. Ooh, she looks cool. Sanguinia. She's an epic magic support champ for the Sacred Order. Yeah. Alright, her A1 is Red Punishment. Nice. Attacks 1 enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of 2 random buffs on the target for 1 turn. That's going to book up to 30% chance. So 30% for 3 hits. So you're going to at least get 1. That's pretty good. Holy Blood. Nice. Places a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. And a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. I like it. It's a 4 turn cooldown that books down to a 3 turn. Sacrificial Lamb attacks 1 enemy, has a 75% chance, books up to 100% chance of transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target. Removes all debuffs from all allies except this champion. Ooh, nice. So, a really good cleanse. Nice. So, basically, it's going to remove all the debuffs on everybody on your team, but all the debuffs that are on her go to a target, and then she hits the target. Well, she hits the target and then does the transfer. That's really good. That's a good ability. And it's on a 5 turn cooldown that books down to a 4 turn. Yeah, she's good, man. She's solid. Increases ally accuracy in Doom Tower battles by 55. Yeah, she's solid. She's solid. Dang, another orc. Jesus, they are padding the orcs, man. Alright, so he's an epic magic champ support for the orcs. Putrid Brazier. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 30% chance, that books up to a 40% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. Nice. Heroes of Old is his A2. Places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. And fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. It's on a 5 turn cooldown. The book's down to a 3 turn cooldown. See, now his books are reasonable. 8 books. Now that's reasonable. Once you start getting over 10 or 12, it's not reasonable anymore. It's ridiculous. I should really stop ranting about this. All right, so his A3 is Ghost Walk, revives 2 random allies. Nice, finally, someone other than Shaman that can revive for the orcs. Thank God. Thank you, Polarian. All right, revives 2 random allies with 60% HP, then fills their turn meter by 40% and places a perfect veil buff on them for 2 turns. On a 7-turn cooldown, the book's down to a 5-turn. That's solid. That's a solid champ right there. Good job. Good job. Ugo. All right, so he's an epic magic champ, support for the Ogren tribes. His A1, Black Hand, attacks one enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. The chance increases by 5% for each alive enemy. All right. His A2, Maelstrom Rack, attacks all enemies, has a 75% that books up to a 100% chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Very nice. AoE 100% defense down, 60% decrease down debuff for the Ogrens. That's fantastic. Also has a 50% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. The chance of placing the block buffs debuff increases by 5% for each alive enemy. Let's see. Also has a 50%. Okay, so 50% that books up to a 75% chance. And then 5% added for every alive enemy. So if there's 5 enemies, then that would be a 100% chance of placing the block buffs. That's pretty darn good. And it's on a 4-turn cooldown that books down to a 3-turn. I like that guy a lot too. Ugo's Brew removes all heal reduction debuffs from all allies, then removes 1 random debuff from all allies, then heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. If all allies are dead, revives them with 50% HP, then fills their turn meters by 50% instead. Yes! A reviver for the Ogren tribes. And just like for Gumkar, he has a weird cleanse where it cleanses a specific thing and then it cleanses 1 random other buff. So Vergumkar does the same thing. He cleanses all provokes, and then he cleanses 1 random buff as well. So, but the question is, if all allies are dead, revives them with 50% HP, fills their turn meter. So will this only work if all allies are dead? That's the question. That is the question. It's on a 6-turn cooldown, and it books down to a 4-turn. All right. Final Spite. It's a passive. Places a 30% increased speed buff and a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever this champion's last living ally is killed. Okay, cool. Nice. So it gives him a chance to use his A3 without dying first. Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right. So I guess that's it for the new champs. So there's some solid champs coming out. I mean, I think they did a really good... The power creep is big. Of course, as with most of their fusions, the fusion champ is always the worst of the new champs coming out. I mean, he looks pretty good. That passive is pretty solid, but still not the best out of the 3. All right, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's see the daily login rewards. Daily login reward expansion. So basically, they're going to do a continuous loop. So once you actually get Visix, if you haven't got her yet, once you actually get her, then it will start a new daily login, and so it's going to be I guess a monthly login, and once you get to the end of the month, it's just going to start over again. So it's going to be on a continuous loop. It's going to be the same exact items every single month, which I'm okay with because it's at least a login reward. So yeah. All right, and then Miscellaneous, they're adding more slots. They're adding 100 more slots. You're not going to get those slots. You're going to have to buy them to unlock them. And then the artifact storage, this is the one that I'm looking forward to. They're taking it from 700 to 1,000. My guess is you're going to have to unlock those as well, but that's just a guess. Clan boss battles will always start on manual mode rather than auto battle. As a player that has an unkillable team, I love this change because it allows me to not have to restart my browser every time I forget to take it off of auto battle. But I could see where a lot of people are going to be up in arms about this who don't have unkillable teams, because it's going to be an annoyance to them to have to and then hit the button to auto battle. But hey, I mean, we'll see. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the new champs coming out. Who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite? And what you guys think about the Fusion champ. But if you like what you've seen and you want to see more, hit the like button and join the Hive by hitting the subscribe button. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.